Let's take a look at a grade calculation program. I'm going to do a new project, Windows Form application, and example grade calculation. And I'll put if else here at the end. And click OK. Okay. We're going to have three categories. Homework. Where's my labels? There it is. Label. And then I'll have my box. And then I'm going to have another one that's tests. Then I have my box. And have another label. And then my final exam. Okay, and then I'm going to have a button to calculate the grade. And I'm going to have a label here. This is going to be the label for my percentage. This will be the percentage. But then also want a label for the actual grade. And this is where I'll put the grade at. Okay, let me, I'm going to left click up here and drag and put a rectangular selector on all those. I'm going to change the font to 20. Okay, and this one will be my homework. And I'll have to put 10% in parentheses. Move those over. I think that'll be my longest one. Final exam might be. Okay, I'm going to change this one. The label on this one will say tests, and that'll be 65%. And this one, I'll have it say final exam, and this will be 25%. And put a colon there, and put a colon here. Okay. Now alignment, let me double check that. Okay, about as good as I get. I'm going to change the button to say calculate for the grades. Resize that. Kind of center it a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to rectangular select these four so I can move them all at once down to here. Click outside of that, and then click this label. This one will say our percentage. And this one will be our grade. Okay, now I'm going to move these two over. So move them individually. Okay, line this up a little bit better so it's centered. Resize my form a little bit. There we go. Now I'll make label 5 and label 7 invisible. So I'll take the visible property, set it to false. Same thing here. Set that to false. Okay, I'm going to be using these text boxes here, so I'm going to name them. So come up here to my name. And I'll call this TB underscore homework. Now, this one I'll name TB tests. this one I'll name TB underscore final exam. This label, I'll give it a name. I'll call it LB percentage. Really does help your programming if you make these names that are meaningful. LB grade. And actually here at the end I want to put some more labels. So I got 3 of them. There we go. I'm going to highlight those and change their font all at once. Change those to 20. And I want these to read how many points are possible. So I go down to the text. And let's say for homework we got 500 points. Oh, I had them all selected. Okay, click outside of that rectangular selection and click this one. Test, let's say there's a total of 400 points. And for the final exam, it'll be worth 100 points. Okay, so we got different weights applied to the different categories. Now my alignment's messed up, so let me move this a little bit better so it looks pleasing to the eye. I've clicked the form one time, so I'm going to change the text of it to say grade calculation. There's also, if you scroll up, you see there's a back color, background image, background image layout. If I choose back color, it says control. You can change this to different items. These are all your system colors, or you can choose the custom over here. You can choose like some kind of background color. I change that to make it a little bit more pleasing to the eye. Now I will tell you, if you're designing a product to be Windows compliant, they specify what the Windows program looks like, and this would be inappropriate for a Windows package, because they want them all to kind of have that look and feel. Now, it's been a while since I checked into it. It used to be that when you bought a Windows package, if it had a certain logo on it, that specified that it got Microsoft's approval, saying that, hey, yes, this follows all the conventions. You know, if you ever use a Windows package, you know if you're going to open something, you go up to the File menu. So that's one of their requirements. You have a File menu whenever you do open. You don't have a button that says open. That's red's pretty out there. There's also the web option here. So let me change that again, something a little bit better. There. Now let's just run and see how it looks. We haven't put any code behind anything, so it won't actually do anything yet. Okay, that didn't look too bad. Let me press tab to see if it goes down the next text box. Tab again. Okay, that's what I would expect. Okay, so I'm going to program to calculate. So I double click that, and again, it comes up with the default action, the button one click. That's what you program the most with the button. And I want to bring in those numbers, and I'm going to have them as double. Now, let's see, my first number, or what is my first one? It's homework. So I got homework, tests, final exam. Now we're also going to need our average, our percentage, I should say. So I'll go ahead and call that percentage. Okay, so homework. Before we did equals int parse. Now if I do double, so make it spell, and then parse, it works the same way. It'll convert that to a double. And so then we're going to have what I call it, TB underscore. Again, with appropriate naming, you don't have to sit there and remember anything. it'll be self-evident what you need to choose. And our tests are going to equal double dot parse. And I'll do tb underscore tests dot txt. And final exam is equal to double dot parse. At first it's unnerving with all these windows popping up everywhere. It's just like, well, what am I supposed to focus with that going on? But you get used to it in programming, you know, you think about them. And they're actually very helpful because then you don't have to sit there and remember as much. Okay, now to figure out percentage, let me break this in. I'm going to have a separate line to declare some more variables. Usually it's bad programming practice to declare a huge amount of variables when you can do it all in one line. But I want you to be able to easily see what I'm doing. Okay, so I got a homework percent, test percent, and FE percent. So we need to calculate our homework percent. Homework percent is going to equal to, now we're bringing in the points. So I'm going to take my homework divided by, and then I'm going to hard code this in. Usually that's not a good idea. But remember we said homework is worth 500 points. And then I'll take that times 100. Order of operations. Order operations from mathematics says that you do multiplication and division as you counter either one from left to right. So even if I didn't have those parentheses there, then it would do this first before I multiplied it by 100. So one thing about the order of operations is if you're not very good at math, you don't remember those, what you can do is you can put parentheses around what you know you wanted to do first. In this case, take my homework, points I entered in, divide by 500. Now if you feel comfortable with the order of operations, then you can just simply do, as in this example, tests divided by, how much were they worth? 400 times 100. Is it 400? Yeah. Now, both of these will give you the same result. This, there is no doubt what's going to happen. So I know it's going to do this before it does the other option. Now, I don't think that, like with a different version of Visual Studio, that they'll do order operations differently. That won't ever change. Famous last words. But if you're not sure, use parentheses. Okay. Final exam percent is equal to final exam divided by 100 times 100. Now this follows our same convention. Divide by your points times 100. But when you divide by 100 and you times by 100, what happens? Well, they cancel each other, don't they? I'm going to leave it there just so we can clearly see it's exact same code. It'll still work just as fine. You won't notice a decrease in performance because I'm doing extra math calculation. And then we'll have percentage is equal to homework percent plus test percent plus FE percent. Now I want to write that out to the label, so do LB underscore percentage dot text equals percentage dot toString. Just like when we're working with integers, we can do a toString to take a double, has decimals, and write it out. Well, let's run this. Okay, so I put in 250 there. I got the full 400 here and full 100 there. This should give us 95% if I made it visible. So let's go over here, and I'll say LB percentage dot visible is equal to true. Now let's run this. Okay, I'm gonna put 250 in here, 400 in here, 100 in here. Click calculate, and tells us our percentage is 250. See, we got a problem, don't we? This should have gave us 50%. Oh, we got to multiply times 10, 65, and 25. I don't work off a script on these, so and so actually, I guess I don't need to multiply it times 100. This would be times 10. Tests are 65%. And this is 25%. There we go. Let's see if that gives us what we want. Okay, so put in 250 here, put 400 here, 100 here, and click calculate. That looks better. Formatting could be a little bit different. I could put a percent on there, but that's fine as is. Now let's make sure decimals work. Let's say I got 125.5 and click calculate. Okay, that looks good. Well, I assume it does. That one I can't just look at and see. Part of when you're developing a program, you got it in your mind as you're writing the code exactly how it should be, and then you run it and it doesn't make any sense. Doing the appropriate testing is vital for these, even though it seems like, well, that seems so obvious. See what I did? I was wrong, wasn't I? I didn't screw up on purpose on that, but that's what my mind was thinking at first when I was programming. The real hard computer programs is where you cannot do a simple test like that. I remember one database I was working with in a table, it had 5 million records. And there really was no way to go through and verify my results. I could go through all 5 million records and do the summing according to the state, but there was no practical way to do that. So there, you had to really think your code through a lot closer. Okay, now we're going to check and what our percent is and put the appropriate grade in. So if our percentage is greater than 89.5, I round. If it's greater than 89.5, or maybe 89.49. Nah, 89.5. But let me change it to a greater than or equal to. And then I'm going to say the LB underscore grade dot text is equal to an A. Now we've been seeing the else, but there's going to be more than one if else here. So we're going to check to see if it's greater than 89.5, and then we want to check to see if it's greater than 79.5, greater than 69.5, and so forth. So we're going to have multiple ones of these. Now there's different ways you can do this, and I'm going to show you one particular method here. Else if percentage is greater than or equal to 79.5, LB underscore grade dot text equals to B. You notice I got a problem up at that line up above. It's got a little red squiggly after my A. That reminds me, I got to put a semicolon. And then else if percentage is greater than or equal to 69.5, then LB grade dot text is equal to a C. And else if percentage is greater than or equal to 59.5, LB grade dot text is equal to a D. Now this last one, I don't need to do an if statement. I can just simply do an else. Because if none of the above are correct, then the person got an F. And I forgot my semicolon there, so let me go back and put there. Now if you got one line of code, then you do not need to put the braces around it. Doesn't hurt anything if I were to put my my braces in here. Grade.text equals to A. Then we have that. Now I usually, it's a matter of preference, Let me get rid of this. As a matter of preference, I like to embed or indent those also. Now, I oftentimes do spaces to indent those, like that. But there's let me see if I remember where it's at. That's the thing of it. Comment out, selected. Toggle bookmark. Somewhere there's an indent feature that'll indent it for you. And I'm not going to be able to find it. I thought it might be right here on opening, but I'll use spaces. Use spaces is what I usually do. By the time I go up there to find out where in the world it's at, then at that point I could have just done spaces and be done. Maybe I got to add or remove buttons. Let me see, what else is there? Yeah, decrease line indent, increase line indent. Okay, so if I choose that and decrease line indent, I just did a little drop down there. Then if I have this right here, here it is. See how you can decrease it or you can increase it. This right here, if same thing. You got it that line highlighted, and then you can change it. Nice feature, but like I say, I usually do spaces. It doesn't take me that long. Now, these curly brackets are not necessary for one line of code, but we're going to see it runs just fine anyway. These braces are necessary if you got 2 or more lines of code. Then you had to put braces around it. And different people have different conventions for that. Some like to have them here at the beginning, like that. Some will tell you that your beginning brace should always be up here. And you get rid of that. And so their code look like that. I hate that convention, but that's a real popular one in books. I like to see them line up. So then when I have a missing brace, it's easy for me to see what goes with what. That's not easy for me to see what goes with what. I have to hit this brace and go find this and then go over here and say, okay, it lines up with that if. But it's your own preference. I'm going to get rid of those braces. They're not necessary when you got one line of code. Okay, now let's run this. And I'll put 250 points in here. Test, I got 400, 100, and then click calculate. And we get 95, but no grade. Well, I didn't make it visible again, did I? So come down here and do lb grade.visible equals true. You think I would learn after the first time I didn't do it. Now run it. Let's put 250 in here, 400 in here, 100 in here, and click calculate, and you see we got an A. Now let's put less points in here. We'll put 200. So that's roughly 32.5 plus 5, 37.5, 47.5, 52.5, I think. Obviously I'm wrong. 62.5. Well, I can't do basic math in my head. But then that's our grade calculation. And based upon the if statement, it'll give us appropriate grade. Let's talk a little bit about how this works. Code's running through here. It's going line by line. It hits this if statement. If the percentage is, let's say, 90%, it does this line of code right here, puts A in there, and then drops down to the end of the if-else structure and does the next line of code. So it'll do this. Okay, so let's say our line of code is right up here, and it's 80. Well, now it comes down here, it checks. Is the percentage greater than or equal to 89.5? It's not, because it's 80. So then it comes down to the next else, and it's checking this. And 80 is greater than 79.5, so it'll do this line of code. And then after it finishes that, it'll drop out of the if-else structure and come do this next line of code here. You do not need to do ands here, where like if percentage is greater than or equal to 89.5 and let's assume I can remember the and statement. I think it's this one. percentage is less than or equal to 100. That is not necessary. Same down here. Because the way this is designed, it'll take that into account. Okay. And that's our grade calculation program.